Hello everyone, welcome to the Red Men TV for some daily news action. If you want to interact with the show, you can do if you're watching it live. If you're not, you still can, it just won't be live. You can do that on the YouTube channel, that's where I'll be checking the comments shortly, so go to youtube.com/the Red Men TV and click the live video, and here we will be. Other than that, we're on Facebook as well, by all means get stuck in there, but nevertheless. There's a few things to discuss. Obviously, those of you who've seen the thumbnail title will know that the Mateo Kovacic stuff is there. We were asked a lot about that on an earlier show, and we've not discussed it, so we will. I think Chris was actually being asked about it on the Starting 11 prediction show. We didn't know anything about it at the time. We've looked into it subsequently, and I'll discuss that in a moment. But obviously, I just want to do a little bit about Phil Coutinho first. Now, we're going to see a bit more of this, I imagine, in the next day or two. But just to backtrack to obviously what we know, that Barcelona set Liverpool an ultimatum for a deadline for accepting an offer that they'd already rejected. James Pearce has talked about it. James Pearce is going to be on a show tomorrow, which I'll talk about in a minute as well. But James Pearce talked about Barca's threat to take back their rejected offer. It's true that Barca sent LFC the deadline for Coutinho in an email. I'm told Liverpool didn't bother replying to it and just ignored it. Fantastic. Love it. Absolutely love it. I love the fact that they treat that email like most of us just treat most of our emails. You get an email, you look at it, can't be arsed dealing with that, and then it gets forgotten about. Well played, Liverpool Football Club. What we're seeing since then, though, of course, is somewhat of a climb down from what it looks like, a climb down from Coutinho's people in and around that, being covered in a whole host of places, including by us. Chris and I have done a lot on this on this week's free podcast. It should be up shortly, so if you're in Acast, iTunes, etc., check it out. Really, really interesting stuff. So I don't want to tread too much on it, but we're starting to see talk that, according to The Independent, Coutinho wants to hold clear the air talks with senior figures at the club. People within the players' entourage claim Barcelona manipulated their client by using family members to pressure the player, and also insist that the email transfer request was Barca's idea. And here's the thing. Believe what you will on this one, I guess. Ultimately, I think there's a lot of people who go, oh, yeah, all of a sudden the transfer's not there, and oh, it was someone else's fault. It probably was. I think we've said this, to be fair. Barcelona have pulled every trick in the book to try and make this transfer happen. And I've seen a few reports saying Barca are a bit surprised at how firm Liverpool have been on this. I think they expected this to be a lot smoother than it actually has been, and maybe just the old way of working just isn't working in this transfer window, as Liverpool have themselves seen with Keita and Van Dijk to some extent. So yeah, I think, cynically speaking, you were liable to see a little bit of a rebuilding thing in here. It's telling that in the Independent article, they do kind of say the players are welcoming back with open arms. The players are not bothered about this. And I've seen a few people trying to I think people put themselves into these situations a little bit and imagine things will be a lot worse than it is. This kind of stuff happens all the time. It doesn't really affect it. If nothing else, the way the football and locker room culture works, it just means he's just going to get the piss taken out of him massively. There'll be something, I can guarantee he'll walk back into first team training and he'll open his locker and there'll be a Barcelona shirt in there or something like that, because that's just how footballers deal with these type of things. It won't be like they don't do things in a passive aggressive way like you or I, like take to Twitter with hashtags, hashtag Coutinho the knob or something, you know, they'll tag him in stuff, and then they'll do something like that, you know, like they'll batter him. Someone will give him a dig in the ribs or something when he comes back in, and they'll all laugh about it and they'll get on with it and they'll have a great season off the back. So I don't see that being too much of an issue, and it's great to see as well. There might be a few bridges to rebuild with him and the manager, but here's the thing, you know, and that might be tougher because we've seen Klopp with burnt bridges in the past and players not be getting a look in. Sakho's probably a great example of that. Coutinho's a very good footballer, isn't he? I think we all know that, and we'll be interested to see how the squad react, how the management react, and ultimately how the Liverpool fans react when he does eventually come back into the team. But your thoughts on the Coutinho situation, now that we pretty much know for certain that he's staying, what does that mean? You know, how does that change your feelings with regards to the club and the ownership? Do the ownership get any credit for standing firm on this one, or have you changed your opinion on that because you feel like the money is something that we should have taken, even though we've got a track record of selling our best players for a lot of money and that's thought of as a bad thing? Let me know that in the comments below if you don't mind. And just a brief note, Jamie Carragher apparently said on Monday Night Football with regards to Sadio Mane, that he's more important than Coutinho. I'd make an argument, especially with the way Jurgen Klopp likes to play. I think he's massively important. Jamie Carragher just echoing everything I've been saying for 2 weeks, which is good to know that he understands footy. Yeah, I'm going to get to some of your comments in a second. In fact, Tom, if you see any interest, and don't be afraid to shout out.
I've got one right here. Liverpool fan, I guess this is about Kovacic, so sorry. But don't need Kovacic, we need a centre-back. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. It was interesting that it came up yesterday that we did on the news show as well. That's still there, you can check that out if you want. That it's kind of Van Dijk or not, and for Liverpool, that's a bit of a concern. Yeah, it's a bit of a concern. If I'm perfectly honest, I think getting a centre-back in would be a very important piece of business done for Liverpool. I think we can see. The argument is, and again, it's something we've covered really well on the podcast, is you can buy a centre-half who looks like he's got all the tools that you need. So you can get decent pace, okay, good with his feet, good in the air, tall, strong, athletic, good, slide in, etc., etc. And they can just not quite be at that top level. And think about how many centre-halves are coming for good money in the Premier League and haven't quite hit the heights. And look, Dejan Lovren's a perfect example of that. He's at Liverpool right now, and we're all saying we need to upgrade on him. He was thought of as being one of the better centre-halves in the Premier League at Southampton. You look at Nicolas Otamendi, now his career's kind of stabilised a bit at Man City. He's not considered a massive flop, but no one would be thinking Otamendi was the missing piece in the defensive puzzle off the back of it. Again, big money spent, and Man City have done it a few times. One more comment and I'll move on to the Kovacic stuff.
Scott Singleton, first game back, Coutinho scores, everyone forgets anything happened.
Exactly, and I completely agree with that. And don't be shocked if Coutinho has his name sung by the cop. You know what I mean? Like, almost like the second he takes the pitch. Genuinely wouldn't surprise me. And it's because, again, Liverpool fans are not little bitches. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, we can be annoyed with stuff, but there's no sense in it. If he's staying and the decision's made, then you get behind him because he's a Liverpool player, and provided he turns in performances for Liverpool, it shouldn't matter, to be perfectly honest. And this is why we are one of the best, if not the greatest set of fans on the face of planet Earth, when we do things right. We do things the old school Liverpool way, is that everyone would, I reckon Arsenal fans would have banners, and Chelsea fans would have their iPads out calling him a twat. Liverpool fans would just embrace him again and go, listen, you daft twat. What he did there was a bit stupid. Now get out there and score us some goals. You'll never walk alone. And he'd go, and he'd run off and score a belter of a goal. So that's the Liverpool way, to my understanding of it. So yeah. So the Mateo Kovacic, or Kovacic, however you wish to pronounce it, I'll do both. So it's being reported that Liverpool have a verbal agreement with him. Now, this is complete and utter horseshit. Complete and utter horseshit. Now, I'm not... Right, it exists within the realms of possibility that maybe there was some things in play where, just in case the situation became completely untenable with Phil Coutinho, that someone at Liverpool has just reached out, like we've done with a few players already, and sounded out through the agents and said, if Liverpool came knocking, would you, and your club were prepared to sell you, would you be interested? And that's possible. It's possible. There's a chance. But this is coming from like Diario Goal. It's being reported by The Express. It's probably being reported by the Metro. It has got Metro stink all over it. And here's the thing, whether he's an integral part of the plans at Real Madrid or not, and whether he'd be a good addition for Liverpool or not, and he probably would be. I wouldn't mind seeing him. We were linked with him a few years ago. I wouldn't have been shocked then. I wouldn't think he was a bad addition now, per se. But it's kind of irrelevant because I just don't see that there's anything in this. This just looks like someone's gone. They've gotten what a good way to drive clicks. What's a good way to get our Liverpool numbers up? Go and pick a player who's on the fringes at a big football club. So you've got the standard story of he's not getting first team action, and then he's just obscure enough that you don't instantly know him. So it means you've got to do a little bit of looking up, and you want to read and to go, "Ooh, who is this guy?" Maybe this article will tell me a little bit more. And of course, it logically follows that maybe Liverpool we now know. Don't be shocked to see Liverpool linked with a mass amount of random centre midfielders, a bit like this, in the next week, because the last reports coming out where that the only position that Liverpool are really actively looking for right now is someone to play in centre mid. So do not be surprised to see more of this. Would he be a good fit? Yeah. I think he played predominantly in a centre mid role. I don't think, and he can play more advanced. I had him pegged as an attacking midfielder when he moved to Real Madrid. Now the thing is, to be an attacking mid at Real Madrid, you've got to be one of the greatest players ever to play footy, or Guti. So the thing is, no shame in him not being able to play further up, but he's pegged as like a DM or deep lying playmaker or whatever. I don't really think we need one of them, if I'm perfectly honest. I think we need a guy who's either full on meaty, powerful box to box, or who's got just this guy with an amazing touch and vision who can just play as a specialist in the 10 or one of the dual 8s that we kind of play in the team at times. Again, could be a good move. I think we could do a lot worse than bring someone like him in. But just looking at the story and where it originates from, and the fact that it's like it's just got one of those wonderfully vague expressions that's not done in quotations, it's done in single inverted commas, I would go out on a limb at this point and say it's complete and utter bollocks. So unless you see some major Liverpool and Northwest journals talking about it, don't worry your arse about it. But let's get into some comments about that nevertheless. We've got people like Cool Dude here saying get Kovacic and Jürgen. I mean, I'm not Jürgen. But yeah, Call of Duty 7 LFC, but you've clickbaited just like them reports did. No, we've put a question mark in there, so it's not. I'm questioning the clickbait. But yeah, to some extent. But provided that you come here, here's the thing. Hopefully people who are watching this video will know that we try our best to cut through the absolute bollocks. And if I can bait a hook to turn people away from absolute and complete and utter bollocks and bring them in, then I will do that. I will bait the hook as necessary to get a bigger bite of people who need to be pointed in the right direction. I'm not sure that's a mixed metaphor, because it's barely a metaphor. Tom, you got something?
I do. Tom Ostwick, just saying, I guess he's just trying to... Doesn't matter. Where would Kovacic fit when Phil and Lallana are fit? Sorry.
Yeah, this is the thing. I don't think anyone... we've done a bit of this on it might have been the comments below show, and it might have been, it's probably also the podcast, but if there's a world where we want to play Coutinho and Lallana at the same time, then it's just that on and that's what we want to play with, like week in, week out. Then on 75 minutes, if you're looking to keep going and press more, you swap out Coutinho or Lallana for a Kovacic or your other attacking midfield guy. If you're looking to solidify, you bring on Gini Wijnaldum, or you bring on Emre Can, or you bring on Marco Grujic. Again, horses for courses. Where I'm not sure that he would necessarily fit in exactly in those roles. I'll be honest, he would struggle to get games. And what you then have is a situation, of course, where the next game, Lallana comes on after 75 minutes in the same regard, and that's how you rotate your squad, would be my thinking on it, or at least whoever that player may turn out to be.
Even Kaiso, I think. Why not go in for someone like Dele Alli or Eriksen? Everyone has a price, and why not set our aspirations very high?
No, yeah, Dele Alli, I would go all in on a Dele Alli if that's exactly what we're looking for, and I think we 100% would be, and I think he would be. He's an upgrade on Adam Lallana, and there's not many people I think who can really say that, because I think Adam Lallana is a terrific footballer. We'll have to see. It wouldn't shock me to see Spurs hit the wall this season with the Wembley stuff and again with Champions League, and they've not really strengthened. I think they've got one player come in. There could be a situation where Spurs are in a much worse position. I think they're more likely. We could finish above them this season, I think, if we have a good season. And if we do, that means they might be out of the Champions League. And I think that's maybe when you go in with that offer. At the minute, I don't think we're in a position to turn Dele Alli's head. And I also think it wouldn't shock me if he was a bit pissed off with Liverpool for not sorting him out in the first place. But yeah, sure.
Ross Hasselhurst with a quite interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
If Phil does get a second chance, do you think Sacco should get a second chance as well?
Look, I'm all for second chances. Maybe. I don't know. The thing of it is, there's no hint of it with Sacco in any way, shape or form. We built our pre-season around Phil Coutinho. We moved his position. We bought someone else so that he could play in his more preferred central position by the looks of things. And our approach looks dead exciting with the way we want to do Phil Coutinho. He's not gone on the tours. He's not been training with the first team squad. Maybe I would contend that you're better off if you really if we feel we need another centre half, maybe bring in Mamadou. There's no point in buying another centre half unless they're better than Sakho, because you might as well just keep Sakho. But it wouldn't shock me if someone coming like a West Brom coming with a panic bid toward the end of the window with Sakho. So we'll see on that one. One more, Tom.
Ryan Kirkpatrick, you lot obviously don't watch Kovacic. Trust me, if he was at Liverpool, he'd play almost every week. So
yeah, maybe that's the thing. Again, it's hard to tell with players like that and how you go about adapting to a different league. It strikes me as ever, if you're good enough to be in and around the Madrid team, and look, he played in both legs of the Super Cup for Real, or featured or figured in both legs, it stands to reason that he should be good enough to play for Liverpool in the Premier League. We've seen loads of examples of players not quite getting it. Real Madrid there's no embarrassment to not quite be good enough to be a first team regular at Real. So we might be very good, but again, it's kind of a moot point. I just don't think Liverpool. It's like very much like bringing the Zielinski links back earlier on in the window. There was an interest in the past, so again, it's just after the people who generate these things are very sly. There's a very pernicious way of thinking in these things, and people they're quite canny in how they drag things up just to add just a shade of credibility to things. So that's why it turns people's heads. But there you go. Go on, Tom. We'll do one more.
Okay, you caught me off guard. Okay, I've got one. This from Jamie actually. Do you reckon Coutinho should sack his agent if the info about him trying to turn Phil's head is true, or is that too far?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe he needs to have a little look at his representatives and look at his entourage and look at what's going on around him. I think things like this happen, if I'm honest, and ultimately your agent's job is to do more than just, I think agents get a bad rep at times, as if they're just engineering things left, right and centre. But effectively his job is to look after Phil Coutinho's interest and get him the best possible deal. And, unfortunately in the world we live in, Coutinho may be doubling his money and playing for Barcelona. It would be wrong of his agents not to try and do that to some extent, maybe. Terje Pettersson, who's give us 50 knock, get in. I think they're waiting to bring players in after the Hoffenheim game when we qualify for the Champions League. I think that's possible. I think it might just be one of those things that whatever we were doing was going to go down to the wire one way or the other. And it just might just be fortunate timing one way or the other, if I'm perfectly honest, because inevitably the window closes a week after the end of the Champions League qualifier ends anyway. So it's possible. It's absolutely possible that Liverpool could do some business. That might be the fact there. Maybe. I know Klopp said in the past he's not asked about players. He's playing. If you're not interested in pushing the train going or whatever, you'd rather have those guys who want to get it moving rather than want to jump on while it's already running smoothly or whatever. So anyway, yeah. Yes, if you're watching this after the fact, there's annotations that crop up on the screen, which hopefully you'll see. One of them's a Red Men TV logo, which means you subscribe to this channel. If you click that and you haven't subscribed already, that's a beast. One of them's my face in cartoon form. You subscribe to Mates TV, which is my channel. I think I'm going to do something more on this Coutinho stuff. I think that's me thinking for this week's video. But otherwise, there's loads of other, my opinion and funny shit and match day experience and stuff around Liverpool. I'm a couple away from 19,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed already, that would mean the world to me if you click there. And I've got more Red Men TV videos. You fancy a bit of a Red Men TV binge? Click that video right there and do just that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone for subscribing.